It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a bonus Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host back in San Diego, John Riley. I'm broadcasting from my cottage up in the northern Adirondacks on the New York-Canadian border. We are going to talk sports with you for the next hour, our Monday bonus podcast. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you across San Diego, plus the new one in Dana Point. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend, your consultant, DIXIELINE Lumber. John Riley, good afternoon. We're doing this podcast with our fingers crossed. Technology is working, at least in our favor right now. We hope to get through all the topics on the table because we do sports talk the way it should be done. Boy, have we got a lot of things to cover.
Yeah, baseball's blowing up. It was a wild weekend in both NFL and college football. And you're on the road. You've been telling me you've been catching some of the games at the local biker bar.
Yeah, it's a little tough to get in sometimes, and I'm the only one that's watching Dodger baseball, aside of me and the whole pub, pissed off Yankee fans as they're getting their brains blown out, and angry Mets fans who didn't even get to the show. So, I mean, it's been fascinating. But we got technology on our side. We hope we're going to be able to do this. When we are done with topics on the table and telling you what we think when we are done, we're going to invite you to get on board and join us for Fans Forum. And again, John, for all the new people who've never participated in this podcast, how do they get involved in Fans Forum?
Okay, so if you got a question or comment for Hacksaw, you're probably looking at the screen right now and saying, where the heck is Hacksaw right now? I could see a lake in the background. If you have a question or comment for Lee in the world of sports, all you got to do is drop your take in the live chat on Facebook, X, or on YouTube, and you could talk to the man, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, up there in the northern Adirondacks, in the changing of the colors territory. We're going to talk sports. You can get involved. I see Angel and Callan already in Fans Forum. So, yeah, just drop your take in X, Facebook, or on YouTube.
Okay, just a quick reminder. I write about sports a lot on my website. Please check my website today, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You get the best 15 minutes in sports. You get my one man's opinion column. You can also join Hacksaw's Insiders Group and get on our special email list. We mail out 2 emails a day to everybody that's on the Insiders Group. Follow us on social media. You can do that by just typing my name in on X, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button. Want you to share. Tell everybody what these 2 dummies do on Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Subscribe. When you subscribe, every time we put additional videos, bonus videos, up on the YouTube channel, you will get the alerts, so you get the chance to sample a lot of our different work. Want you to follow us, give us a thumbs up. It helps us a great deal. Give us a 5-star rating. You can't imagine how that helps us grow this podcast. More than 8,000 podcast subscribers so far. John, are you ready to talk baseball?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see on the top of the list, we're going to talk about Padres. Maybe a little bit of a post-mortem here, Lee?
I think the correct word is autopsy. Let's talk Padre baseball. John, you're the one that's back in the castle. You're the one that's back in master control. I am going to give you questions, and you're going to tell everybody watching on this live stream today what you're going to recommend to the Seidler family going forward based on what we have just seen. It's your decision, John Riley. Here we go.
Here we go. I could spend the money.
What are you going to tell Seidlers? What are you going to tell Eric Grupner? And I asked that question because under A.J. Preller, we've had 11 years. The last 5 years have been just fascinating. Petco Park has become a destination point. They have spent enormous amounts of money. They've drawn record crowds. They raised the ticket prices 57%. It has really become the place to spend your summer nights. Padre baseball has really become special in the community. Now, the burning question. They have never won a National League West division title under Preller's blueprint. They have never won a National League Championship Series. This franchise, after more than a decade of doing it his way, has never gotten to a World Series. So as they began their exit meetings today, the baseball executives and ownership, I'm going to ask you, what are you doing with the guys with the big money contracts who walk out November 1st as free agents? Do you want to keep Dylan Cease at 13.7? How much are you willing to give Michael King coming off his health issues? You're saying goodbye to Robert Suarez, $12.2 million. What kind of decision you're making with Luis Suarez at $14 million? And there's a whole bunch of other guys, but these are the cornerstone marquee anchors to what has been the pitching staff and to a degree, the everyday lineup. So John Riley, the podium is yours. What are you doing with the guys who are going to become free agents November 1? What do you recommend?
Well, I think a lot of those guys, a lot of them are pitchers, right? I mean, you talked about King and Cease and Suarez. We know, generally speaking, that we need more slug. I mean, the pitching is good. You know, it's not fantastic. We don't have a Cy Young candidate but they're solid pitchers. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little pitching, starters, or bullpen if I can get a big hitting first baseman like a Pete Alonso or something like that.
Okay, here's the burning question. If you let these guys walk, you're going to have approximately $65 million in budget space. Mm-hmm. But if you want to get stars, you're going to eat up that $65 million really, really quick. You think you can convince guys to come here at an affordable price? How are you going to spend that $65 million? You just mentioned the polar bear, and you're going to have to go get pitching because we don't know whether Darvish is ever going to be Darvish again. And there's no guarantee Joe Musgrove comes back to be what Joe Musgrove was. So you got two question marks there. And if you're letting Cease walk and Suarez walk, and you haven't given me an answer on Michael King. So how are you going to spend $65 million when you're going to have more holes to fill?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's a game of like whack-a-mole. You know, you're trying to contain everything, but there's always going to be some kind of a hole somewhere. I mean, we don't have the resources like the Dodgers to have all of our bases covered, have like a 40-man roster that's uber deep. I mean, that's not going to be the case. We're going to have to take some gambles. We need to find more surprise guys like Gavin Sheets, like Jerks and Profar when we got him on that one-year deal. So, I mean, of the pitchers, I'm inclined to let Suarez go. I'm inclined to let Cease go. I'd like to keep Michael King, if possible, depending on how the numbers work out. I think there's some interesting opportunities, to either have Miller replace Suarez as the closer or make Miller a starter, and then you have someone like Morejon as a closer, or Morejon could be a starter. I mean, so you've got a lot of flexibility. You just need to make some strategic decisions now so the team can be prepared going into spring training and guys can get ramped up appropriately.
Are you telling me you're going to be walking down aisle 5 at Dollar General with $65 million in your pocket, and that's how you're going to try to replenish the roster in addition to maybe going to get the polar bear?
Yeah, well, here we go. I mean, it is limited resources. Obviously, if you can find a up-and-coming young guy, I don't know, like let's just say hypothetically, why not Ryan O'Hearn? I mean, Ryan O'Hearn is a first baseman full-time. That's not a bad choice. That could work. I mean, Polar Bear is going to want $30 million for, 10 years, and we're already stuck with 3 or 4 or 5 of those deals. So I think you can find some guys to make this fit. Now, the Darvish question is interesting because there's been some speculation that he would retire and walk away from the remaining years on his contract. I think that was wishful thinking of Padre fans on X. But if that happened, boy, that could really open up some space. But it is nice, though, that, Hosmer's coming off the board and all those players that we've just named. I think you let Arise walk as well. So they're going to need to get creative here. There's obviously not a lot of young talent that they can bring up, at least from a hitting perspective, in the minor leagues. So I don't know. O'Hearn might be a guy to bring back or someone that's similar that's out there on the market.
All right. What's your reaction now? What are you going to sit there and tell ownership as these exit meetings are beginning about Machado? Machado, who again fails in postseason. Machado, who had 2 miserable months in August and September where he hit 206. And Machado, with all that money, is hitting 211 his entire career in postseason. And then in the exit interviews with the media at Petco Park, he lectured the media saying you must ask better question than you've asked about his failures in postseason. I get the sense the baseball community fans are really up in arms and they're tired of Machado's act. Is that a correct read? And what are you telling them about Machado? Because he's the one that made the comment to me, look at the back of my baseball card. Well, the back of his baseball card has a hell of a lot of postseason failures. Go ahead, John.
Okay, it's a mixed bag you just presented there. Okay, first of all, there is a ton of hate on Manny Machado right now. People are saying they need to get rid of him. Your old colleague Scott Kaplan was saying that Manny Machado and Tatis are not championship players. If someone would take over the contract for Machado, we should let him go. But that's not going to happen. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So Machado's our guy. I mean, like him or not, he's still an all-star, great player. We can talk about the attitude, but I'll tell you what, that question that he was asked in the locker room after the third game when they lost, and they said, you know, how did you assess the season? And Manny just sort of looked back at the reporter and smiled, and he said, well, how do you think I'm going to assess it? We just lost, you know? I don't think that was a unprofessional comment at all. I mean, the loss was still raw. I mean, the dude was undressing in the locker room after this defeat. It hurts. So I don't know. I still believe Machado is a good dude. I mean, he still can be a leader. He still can perform, but we need more leaders. Machado cannot be the only guy, you know? So, you know, you need additional. Now, when Musgrove comes back, that's another major leadership dude that you can really count on. But I think we have to accept the fact you're not going to trade Machado. So you've got to figure a way to embrace him, to love him, and make it work in San Diego.
You want to coddle a guy who talks down to the media, and you want to coddle a guy with a career 211 postseason batting average. I don't know that I can sign.
Well, what are you going to do? You want to banish him? You want to bench him? I mean, you can't trade him unless you're going to eat like, probably $100 million at least on that contract. He's not going anywhere. I mean, that's not going to happen. So you've got to find a way to make it work. I don't think, okay, you may have had a bad experience with him early on when he was still young in 2019. Dude's different now. He's grown up. Okay. Yeah, he needs to hit better. No doubt about it. He did have the one hit that won the game 2 for the Cubs. So I don't know. Machado isn't, I mean, we can critique Machado, the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, but in the end, Machado's not the problem. He's not the core problem here. The problem is that there are not enough other guys that can hit.
Okay. Let's go to Tatis in right field. I asked the question at midseason when he went through a really bad swoon. Of course, I thought he was hurt. But I asked the relevant question, I really wonder if he's just a physical talent and not really a student of the game. Because here is Tatis with another miserable postseason. 14 unbelievable swings and misses. He was out of the batter's box before the people could sit in their seats in each one of his ABs along the way. And he's got all these problems off the field. An arbitrator has just ordered him to pay $3.4 million back to a company that he took a loan out when he was a teenager after signing with the White Sox and coming to the Padres. There's just a lot of junk swirling around him. But I look at him and I look at just the total lack of consistency and discipline over a guy that's making $30 million, supposed to be a superstar. I'm not sure if I'm more disappointed in Machado or more disappointed in Tatis. Do you think he's a student of the game?
Well, you think he would be. I mean, his father was a major league ball player, played for 10 years. And, obviously had that 2 Grand Slam record we always talk about. Tatis is a mystery right now. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on in his world. Now, you say he had another miserable playoff season. I don't roll the clock back. He's had some really good playoff moments for the Padres. This year, he sucked. This year, he looked completely confused. I said in our last episode that I wasn't sure what he was trying to accomplish as the leadoff hitter. Is he like a hit the other way, Petco Park, go with the pitch? Is he Ricky Henderson trying to get walks, just get on base? Is he trying to be the power guy like Ohtani at the top of the order? Who is he? I think he's confused on who he is. So I think mentally it's an issue. And yeah, he signed that deal for, to get paid up front. That was a foolish deal. And I still can't understand if the dude need money. I mean, his dad made money. Why is he taking out a loan on his future earnings when he really, he has family resources if he's so desperate for certain things? So Tatis is a mystery to me.
So that's where we are. We get to the finish line as the organizational meetings begin today. Bad taste in my mouth. They have scored 5 runs in the last 51 innings of postseason play. They're no closer to being a World Series team. In fact, as we sit here on Monday in October, John, I now get the sense they're farther away because of this roster situation and because of the continued postseason failures of their 2 stars. They're farther away from being a World Series team. And we would have thought 11 years into the Preller blueprint, we would have been there. Agree or disagree?
Well, they are farther away. I mean, 22, they made the NLCS, 24, the NLDS, and last year, the wild card. So they're slipping backwards. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of big problems on this team that they've got to address. But in the end, you're not going to be able to trade Manny. You might be able to trade Tatis, maybe. But again, they need to find a way to build around those guys, not jettison those guys. They got to find a way to make it work. And this kind of goes back to the criticism we've had of A.J. Preller early on, is that he put himself in a box. He painted himself into a corner with these long-term deals, Xander, Darvish, the whole thing. So they have little wiggle room here. But if you can deal Machado or Tatis and get a boatload back and not have to, write a check for, nine figures, then that'd be great. But I just don't see that being realistic.
Okay, that's all things Padres. The Fans Forum chat box is officially open for Friar fans. Are you still faithful? Feel free to jump on board. I just tend to think this franchise right now is painted into a corner. Credit card bills have come due. They're stuck with big long-term contracts, and now there's holes in the pitching staff. Padre fans, Fans Forum chat box is open. John, we go from that topic to the next topic. Look who's still playing baseball in Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Dodgers, and they're going to get started here in a little over an hour.
Let's talk about the Dodgers' first game in Philadelphia. Man, that place was rocking. That place was crazy. Philadelphia fan was out of control. They were rabid, and it didn't bother Ohtani. Didn't bother Ohtani, the pitcher. Didn't bother Ohtani, the hitter. Didn't bother the Dodgers. And they came from behind, and they got the victory. Ohtani, outside of that second inning flub by Teo Hernandez in right field, was dominant. His stuff was wicked. He had 9 strikeouts in the 5+ innings. Now, granted, he didn't do well at the plate. Maybe he was pressing. He struck out 4 times. But there's so many other guys hitting the ball. Tell you what, you fear who's at home plate in Philadelphia's Citizens Bank Ballpark? You should fear the Dodger batting order in addition to the Philadelphia batting order. The other thing that's kind of unique, Philadelphia's Bryce Harper is not the power hitter he used to be. I mean, he's had these problems with the forearm and the elbow, and he may hit for some average now, but he's not hitting for any power. Castellanos has become a platoon player, so it's not quite the same team, Philadelphia. In terms of the Dodgers, if their starters go deep, they now seem to have numbers that they can call out of the bullpen. They did it with Glasnow. They're going to do it with Kershaw. And now Sasaki's been given the ball twice as a Dodger closer. 3 up, 3 down, both times. So far, so good. Dodgers, to me, look really dangerous, especially in that ballpark. And we'll find out what happens tonight. And then they come back to Los Angeles for the next 2. What do you think?
Yeah, the Dodgers, I'm just hoping for an electric series with the Phillies. I just want to see a lot of firepower there. But, I've always said I think the Dodgers, everything's going to sort of go their way, and we saw it in the first game. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez hits that big home run late in the game, and Dodgers are suddenly up top, and poor Matt Strahm gave up that bomb, So, yeah, Ohtani looked really good on the mound. What do you say? He went 6 or 7 innings. I mean, he looked terrific. So I'm of the opinion the Dodgers are going to roll through Philly, but I just want to see Philly fans just really get in the Dodgers' face and make this something like must-see TV.
Well, they did, and it didn't mean anything because Ohtani did not get rattled on the mound. And other Dodger players stepped up and hit home runs when they really needed to hit home runs. So this second game of the series, it is going to be fascinating. Okay, those are the two teams in Southern California. Dodger fan, feel free to join us, pro or con. Fans Forum chat box is open. We're going to the third team and tell you it can't get any darker than it is right now in Anaheim at Angel Stadium with the Halos, John.
Yeah, Perry Manasian, he's under fire right now.
Manasian versus the media. That's a really good headline. Angels finished another miserable season. Perry Manasian, the fifth-year general manager, kept canceling his postseason media briefing. Finally met with the people on Friday, and it was terrible. It was an angry exchange, and the word was your accountability. Under his leadership with the Angels, Halos' record is .358 and .452. They have had 10 losing seasons in a row. It's been 11 years since the Halos were in the playoffs. He spent the better part of an hour evading answers. It was absolutely stunning. He refused to answer about his job status, his conversation, his contract situation with Arte Moreno. He managed to throw Ron Washington under the bus, indicating he was let go because his performance was not good, but he would not answer any questions about his own performance of giving him the players they need. All I would say is we need to focus on pitching. I think so, that we obviously need to get healthy. And he says we're going to probably try to get another third baseman because they've been saddled with a really bad contract. And in terms of the manager, no comment whatsoever. However, it looks as if they will interview Albert Pujols because Arte Moreno wants to talk to him. The second interview, I'm led to believe, is going to be with Torrey Hunter. There's also a report out there they may have had attempts to have conversation with Andy Green, the ex-Padre manager who's currently working in the New York Mets front office. He refused to answer any questions at all about the Halos budget. Now, they're going to have approximately $45 million available to use in the free agent market. How are they going to spend it? Are they going shopping on aisle 6 at Dollar General? Or are they going to make a significant effort to get quality players? But what quality players wants to go to a team that's been managed this poorly by ownership and the front office and has not had a winning season in 10 years? And if that's not bad enough, today, jury selection began in the Tyler Skaggs drug death trial. Families suing the Angels for $789 million. The Angels won one motion today where the judge this afternoon ruled that any past history of Tyler Skaggs' involvement with drugs while with Arizona can be included. That might include drug killers, that might painkillers, that might include oxycodone, that might include fentanyl, that might include the volume of alcohol the night he died. So the Angels' motions were accepted by the judge. Actual jury pool selection starts tomorrow, and then the trial, we believe, testimony is going to start on Monday. This is deep, this is dark, this is awful for Angel baseball fans. What's your reaction to Manasian versus the media?
There's no good news with the Angels. It's just such a disgrace. I mean, obviously, they need to hit a reset button. Everyone would love to see Arte Moreno sell the team so they could start over. But even if Arte Moreno, remains as the owner, he's going to have to navigate through this trial. Chances are there's going to be some kind of a settlement, and he's going to have to pull money out of his pocket to pay off, which I think is kind of a shame. I mean, this is ultimately really on Skaggs, in his addiction. But the Angels do have some responsibility because they have an employee that was dealing. It's just such a mess. If I were in charge, if I were suddenly put in Perry Manasian's shoes right now, I would find a way to trade Mike Trout. I would signal to the world, we are hitting refresh button. We are going to stock the minor leagues, and we are going to start from ground zero. Because I don't think there's a way to make it work right now when you are giving off these signals that it's such an inept and confused franchise. I don't understand what the Angels' strategy is as a team. I don't know where they're going, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and what kind of ball they intend to play. And, we don't even know who their manager is going to be. So they need a big picture strategic decision first before they start deciding who they're going to sign and who they're going to trade.
It was really messy. It was really messy in Anaheim at Angel Stadium on Friday. Okay, you're an Angel fan. Feel free, jump on board. What direction do you think they should go? That's why we put topics on the table, express our opinions, and that's why we open up the chat box. Fans Forum, available for Angel fans. Jump on board. John, October. Let's talk playoffs, baby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there have been so many great games. I mean, let's get them all up here on the big board for you, Lee. Check this out.
I checked this stat. This just came out off the Sports Wire. Wild card round, all-time record TV viewership on ESPN. 11 games in all. The Yankee-Red Sox game, 7.4 million. It's an all-time record for a wild card week in the history of Major League Baseball. And the average viewership of all 11 games that were played from each of the teams in the American and National League, 4.6 million. Fans stopped what they were doing to watch Major League Baseball. That's really, really impressive. Okay, let's get started. Toronto Blue Jays, New York Yankees. Blue Jays about to put the Yankees away. Blue Jays bombs away, hit 5 home runs in that first game against the Yankees. Vlad Guerrero with the grand slam home run. Yankees have allowed 23 runs now in the first 2 losses. Series goes to New York. Judge, Stanton, Bellinger have really been silent. The Blue Jays have conducted batting practice. Yankees at this point sure don't look like they have very much pitching. Seattle, Detroit. Tigers, a bit of a surprise winner in Game 1. Series even, though, after the Mariners roughed up Tarek Skubal in Game 2. That series is 1-1, going back to the Motor City. Jorge Polanco, 2 home runs for the Mariners in their Sunday win. Most intriguing thing to me, where's Naylor? Where's Suarez so far in the series? Series is tied 1-1. Still think the Mariners are the team to beat. I thought the Cubs were living on borrowed time in the playoff series with the Padres, who choked it away. Milwaukee just destroyed them in the start of that playoff series. 9-run first and second inning against Matthew Boyd. Now the Cubs have to give the ball to Shoto Imanaga, who kind of looks like he's hit a wall since about early July. Not the same starting pitching. This could be bad news for the Cubs. They might not survive this. And the Brewers, of course, were rested, and the Brewers pitching staff, even though it's down Brandon Woodruff, they could still be really strong. So Milwaukee looks like they're about to roll through this. Couple of other notes. New York Mets, awful season, failed to make the playoffs. New York Mets fire 5 coaches from Carlos Mendoza's staff, virtually all the important people, his bench coach, his pitching coach, his hitting coach, his third base coach, out. New York Mets, those guys gone. Texas, told you this might happen. It did happen. Immediately after Bruce Bochy stepped aside in a joint decision with GM Chris Young, he hires Scott Schumacher. Pretty good manager. Did an admirable job in a messy situation in Miami. Had gone to work in another club's front office, but always wanted to manage. Texas hires him. One other note just breaking. San Francisco Giants today, looking for a replacement for Bochy, have interviewed ex-Padre Nick Hundley. Now, Hundley, who retired from baseball, pretty good career as a catcher, went to work for Major League Baseball, then wound up going to work for the Chicago Cubs. He has interviewed. National reports indicate Hundley might be the hot choice of Buster Posey to take over the Giant job. So, John, talk about what's happened this first weekend of the divisional series. Got a comment, too, about the managers? Go ahead.
I do. Well, first of all, I'm really happy for Toronto fan. I mean, they've been playing in the shadow of the Yankees forever, and they just came out and just rolled them. And that grand slam by Guerrero was just fantastic. So good on them. The Mariners, Detroit, definitely Mariners are the team that I like to see win it all. I mean, wouldn't that be great? And besides, they're a West Coast team. We need some love. So go Mariners. That Game 1, Brewers-Cubs, the Brewers scored more runs in the first inning of that game than the Padres scored in 3 games against the Cubs. I mean, So, the Brewers are having a hell of a year, so good on them. As far as the other teams, when I think of the Mets, by the way, I don't know if you've seen him on social media. A guy, his name's Frank the Tank. He's like this Mets Uber fan that's just a big loudmouth, and he's just getting on social media all the time. He's always got something to say. The Mets fans are going through hell right now. We've been hearing it from him. And I do want to talk about Skip Schumacher. Yeah, terrific selection. The Nick Hundley thing, that's news to me. Hundley was Buster Posey's backup in San Francisco, so they have a relationship, they have trust. And then Hundley's father was like a college football coach, if I recall. So he's got some coaching in his blood, but this always seems like a reach when you try to pull a dude in that's never managed before and suddenly put him in the hot seat. It seems like that's breaking a lot of old baseball traditions.
But Buster Posey's a catcher who became the president of baseball operations with virtual no front office experience. Hundley's a real smart dude. He's a college graduate. So I think that Nick has fine-tuned his knowledge of the game in addition to being a catcher and going to work at the commissioner's office in baseball operations and contract approval and all that. So I think there's a lot of dynamics to Nick Hundley. A lot of people have not probably paid attention to, but seems to be on a fast track, and that seems to be the storyline right there. So those are all things baseball. You want to talk about the playoff series? Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from all things baseball. It's time to talk NFL football. Wow.
Yeah, a lot going on in the world of football, and the Chargers charging.
Powder blue got a black eye. The Chargers, how bad was it? I saw the postgame press conference with Jim Harbaugh. His eyes were glazed. I saw the postgame press conference of Justin Herbert. He had a black eye. That pretty much sums up where the Chargers are. Chargers at one point were 3-0. Then they lose to the winless New York Giants. And then they get punched in the mouth by the Washington Commanders, who came cross-country, don't have a great history of winning on the West Coast, and came cross-country with a bunch of injuries, and they came from behind. A 10-0 lead. The Bolts watched Washington reel off 27 straight points. It was a shocker. The Chargers have now taken 24 penalties in the last two games. Justin Herbert is taking just a fierce beating. More sacks, more interceptions, receivers dropping passes, and, of course, the flags were everywhere. It was just a gruesome loss. Washington had a 99-yard touchdown drive at the end of the game. The Chargers kept self-destructing, wiped themselves out of a touchdown on a punt return because of a penalty, negated two huge pass completions because of back-to-back offensive line penalties. They can't cover. They can't stop the run. They can't protect the quarterback. That's a really bad combination. And Harbaugh was so staggered by how bad it was yesterday, he could hardly link a noun and a verb, and he had such a glazed look in his eyes that even the coach speak did not come out correctly. They got terrible personnel problems. Next week, you go cross-country to play the battered Miami Dolphins, but this Charger team is not protecting this quarterback. And now they've lost Omani Hampton, their number one draft pick running back. He's gone with what appears to be a significant ankle injury. Just everything bad that could happen by virtue of injuries has happened to this team right now. Wow. So we got that situation, that storyline to talk about. You watched it. John, give me your opinion.
Yeah, I was watching the beginning of the game, and they were rolling, and I'm like, hey, all right, they're going to win at home, maybe go 4-1 here to start the season, and then everything went sideways. And it's just so Chargers, just the way this whole thing rolls out. The offensive line was a disaster, and I mean, we can critique the Chargers. We spend a lot of time critiquing the Chargers on this podcast, but, look at it from the flip side. That's a hell of a win for the Commanders, to see Jaden Daniels go out there on the road kind of adds to his, mystique as this new young, up and coming kid. And who knows, maybe the Washington franchise is suddenly going to be relevant again in the NFL.
Well, they were pretty active last year, got to the playoffs last year with a raw rookie quarterback who was just scrambling for his life all the time. I think what absolutely stunned me is they came cross-country. Daniels had missed the last two games. They lost both those games with the knee injury. He practiced limited, did not know whether he was going to play, and he made plays. He ran away from people. He threw for 231. I think he ran for about 50 yards along the way. They came here without their running back, Austin Eckler, who's gone for the year with the Achilles. They came here with Deebo Samuels coming off a knee injury, and Deebo caught 8 passes playing on a bad wheel, came here without Terry McLaurin, and they just hammered the Chargers at the point of attack during the course of the game. So if they can get everybody back healthy, Dan Quinn's a good coach. Washington is going to be a team to reckon with. And the Chargers right now, they're asking for volunteers. Can you play left tackle, right tackle? Can you be my guard? They have such problems protecting Justin Herbert right now. And he's not going to finish the season. He's taken so many hits. I'm absolutely amazed he's not gone down yet. And there's no way to protect him because you can't go get players at this point of the season.
Well, Mekhi Becton, I saw him a lot on the sidelines. I mean, that was a little bit of a reach on a pick, but is he going to be healthy? Is he going to live up to what he was in Philly?
Well, he was coming off a concussion. He was in concussion protocol for almost 2 weeks. He played limited yesterday. He injured his hand. They think it's broken. They could try to put a cast on it, but he hasn't played well when he's played, and he hasn't been able to stay on the field. So there's an issue there. They've got problems across that entire front. And now they don't have Amani Hampton, and that quarterback has taken a terrible beating. Charger fans, feel free, jump on board. Oh, here's a fitting end to the Charger game at SoFi Stadium. The media is waiting to go in the locker room. Dean Spanos comes out, is rushed into an SUV. He looked with a scowl on his face, would not talk to anybody, and they raced out of SoFi Stadium. And result of when you play badly and lose 2 in a row when everybody was selling everybody that this was a Super Bowl team. So they got work to get done. John, we're not done with the NFL. We got other angles here. Boy, what a weekend of games.
Yeah, we do. And look at this big board here with all the games on the list. Let's get you up on the screen.
Let's start with what happened Thursday night. Please explain this one to me. San Francisco, battered with injuries. San Francisco comes back and beats the Rams 26-23 in overtime. How about the job Kyle Shanahan has done taking the refugee quarterback Mac Jones, the ex-Patriot, the ex-Tampa Bay quarterback? Mac Jones throws for 324, a couple of touchdowns at SoFi Stadium. And then you add that, they hung on despite the heroics of Matthew Stafford, who threw for 389 and 3 scores. Eddie Pinheiro was a free agent street kicker. He comes off the street, signs a contract. He kicks 4 field goals for San Francisco. The Rams fumbled at the 1 going in for a score, got stopped on a 4th down at the 12 going in for another score in the course of the game. Rams totally self-destructed in special teams, missed a field goal, missed another point after. Team should be 5-0. I assume one of those kickers is going to be a dead man probably by the middle of this week. Rams have to fix what's wrong with the kickers. Rams lose to San Francisco. What a coaching job Shanahan has done with all those injuries. Then there was Buffalo at home. Good night now. Buffalo lost to New England. What a statement win for Mike Vrabel, 23-20 on a 52-yard field goal at the end of the game. Patriots defense, 3 takeaways of Josh Allen. That was really a bit of a surprise. They also missed a field goal. They also got stopped on downs. Drake May, 273 yards passing. Stephon Diggs, who's been missing in action for a couple years. Best game as a Pat, 10 catches for 146. Josh Allen, 253, couple of TDs, but they stuffed James Cook, the running back. They made it a one-dimension game, and he couldn't get it done by himself. James Cook was held for 43 yards rushing. So that was the stunner, Buffalo losing at home. The other stunner was Philadelphia losing at home. They lost to Denver, 21-17. Bo Nix, who's getting tougher and tougher and more explosive now with all these new components around him, he throws for 242. Denver's defense had 6 sacks of Jalen Hurts. Paging Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's averaging less than 3 yards per carry. Offensive front's not playing very well. Philadelphia had a 17-3 lead at home, and Bo and the boys got the job done in that victory. Also, we'll talk about Tampa Bay. Buccaneers win a shootout in Seattle. This was crazy. 38-33. Baker Mayfield goes for 379 and 2 touchdowns. This guy's having an MVP-type statistical season. Sam Darnold did not play poorly, 341 and 4 touchdowns, but the Seahawks wound up losing the game on a long-distance field goal at the end, 38-33 in favor of Tampa Bay. Raider Nation, you lose to Indianapolis. Don't talk to me about tradition. Don't talk to me about Plunkett and Stabler and Al Davis and Art Shell and Marcus Allen. Talk to me about where you are. This is a shocker. They lose to the Colts 40-6. It is the worst start in Pete Carroll's entire coaching career. And he's coached some really bad teams in the NFL. Geno Smith has just totally unraveled. This is not the Geno Smith that Pete Carroll had in Seattle. Geno, 2 more interceptions, 4 more sacks, another blocked punt, another failure on 4th down, and Genti hardly runs the football at all. The Raiders are just a disaster. Cleveland loses, but I'll tell you, it's a feel-good story because the kid quarterback Dylan Gabriel played really, really well. Threw for 190, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers as a raw rookie. That was impressive. Over in London, they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. Quinshon Judkins, he's the running back that came from Ohio State, the same draft as Dylan Gabriel. 3rd straight big-time game. He had 110 yards rushing. So Cleveland's starting to feel a little bit better. Looks like Dylan Gabriel at this point can play in the NFL. And the last story is the eeriest story of all. It involves former USC quarterback, former New York Jet quarterback, Fox TV analyst Mark Sanchez. He got stabbed in an alley outside a hotel in downtown Indianapolis just after midnight on Saturday. He was in Indy to do the Colts-Raiders game. He was drunk. He was staggering, walked up an alley and confronted a truck driver who was just doing his job at 12:30 in the morning, picking up garbage. Pulled the truck driver out of the truck and started to fight the guy. The guy was 69 years of age, just doing his job, feared for his life. Sanchez knocked him down multiple times and was pummeling him. The guy pepper sprayed him. Sanchez backed away. Guy tried to get in the truck. Sanchez went in the truck and pulled him out again, continued to pummel him. The guy pulled a knife, stabbed him 4 times in the upper torso. Sanchez is lucky he's alive. Sanchez is not lucky. He's now facing felony assault charges, like all kinds of video. There's a video that just surfaced within the hour of Sanchez staggering around, bleeding out front of the hotel. I mean, it's absolutely stunning why somebody with that kind of job, who's now into his 2nd career, would get involved and do something like this. He's in big trouble. Obviously, needs to be an alcohol intervention for Mark Sanchez. It's an awful story. Could have been a lot worse, but the guy got stabbed because of what he did to a 69-year-old man that he attacked who was just doing his job. So, John, I know I posted a lot on your bulletin board there. Go anywhere you want here talking NFL football and talking about Mark Sanchez.
Okay, well, the big comment here, I think, is your headline. It's the best get beaten, because we've seen all of these top teams that, were the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, all these major teams that are contenders for the Super Bowl, all showing weaknesses. And then we see all these up-and-coming quarterbacks that kind of have a nice storyline, make us smile. Like with the Niners, Mac Jones, did a hell of a job in his backing up Purdy. Drake May looking really good. Nice to see Bo Nix, in that Raider game. Didn't they play Indy, and Daniel Jones is going well. And then you look at Baker Mayfield, and the season he's having. Do you think the Browns fans would love to have Baker Mayfield back? He'd be better than any of those other quarterbacks they have on the roster.
Well, Baker was there, and Baker was a one-man gang, and then, there was contract issues there, and then Baker moved on, and he bounced around. He went to 2 other teams before he finally landed on Tampa on a 1-year deal. But Baker's made himself a very crafty quarterback, and he's got the guts of a burglar. He's has no fear to make plays and willing to take hits, and he's a firebrand as a leader. So it's pretty impressive what Mayfield has become as a leader. But in terms of Cleveland, and granted, it's been pretty pathetic for a long period of time. Dylan Gabriel was kind of a breath of fresh air, a little bit of sunshine. So we'll see now as he builds off this 190-yard first performance. But he was going against a pretty fierce Minnesota pass rush, and he was not intimidated. The stage was not too big for him.
Yeah, good on him. And it was interesting. I know Sooner Nation was commenting that there were 6 starting quarterbacks from Oklahoma that were in the league. I mean, you have Murray in Arizona, and then Dylan Gabriel and Caleb Williams, and we can make the list here. Baker Mayfield's on that list too. And well, go ahead.
What'd you think of the Mark Sanchez story? How sorry a story is that?
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. Now, I only have limited information, all right, but it does sound like there's more involved here than alcohol. I mean, obviously, something enraged him, and the fact that you can be triggered that much tells me that there's something more going on than just alcohol. I don't know if it's drugs. I don't know if it's something else. But I don't care who you are. I mean, I don't care what you do for a profession. You don't go out boozing the night before an important work day, which is what Mark Sanchez was doing. And it kind of follows the old adage, nothing good happens after midnight.
He's lucky he did not suffer more severe wounds. Got stabbed 4 times in the upper torso. I mean,
it's like Tommy Pham over at Pacers.
Yeah, exactly. Just a stunning story, and we have not heard the end of it. He's now, this morning, while he was being released from the hospital, he's now been charged with the first felony, and we're led to believe there's going to be more felony charges that are going to be handed out. Those are hot topics on the table. Feel free to comment from the NFL Notebook. Fans Forum chat box is open. This podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. From windows to doors, to renovations in the kitchen, in the restrooms, in the hallway. If you're doing stuff out on the patio, Dixieline can be your best friend. They've got materials, they've got ideas, they can be a consultant, if you will. John, these people, they are the epitome of success for homeowners and contractors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are as a homeowner. Maybe you just bought, or maybe you bought a home and are going to rebuild it. Or, the people next door to me, they bought that house, they gutted it out, and they're rebuilding the whole side. New kitchens, new bath, everything else, and they're going to flip that house. And there's a lot of people in San Diego doing that. Dixieline's your partner for that. Absolutely. I mean, you get new kitchen countertops and the nice cabinetry. I mean, you could really deck out your home and make it just gorgeous if you want to put it on the resale market. But if you just want to build a custom home like we just showed in that video, I mean, the folks at Dixieline are perfect for contractors and smaller builders as well as the big guys, but they service the smaller cul-de-sac. So great people in San Diego County, been for over 100 years.
Go to Dixieline.com, see all the things they have to offer for you. We are at halftime, our Monday bonus podcast. John is back at Master Control in the castle in Poway. I'm at my cottage up in the northern Adirondacks. I told you I was on a lake. I am on a lake. I'd be outside, except it's a little windy out there, so we couldn't do the podcast from actual lakeside.
That shoreline looks really close. It almost looks like you're on a houseboat.
No, we got a big water stopper there. Listen, this podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. When we're done, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we invite you to join us. John, it's called Fans Forum. We have a lot of new people that join us on the live stream. How do they get involved? I'm looking for first-timers, Rookie of the Year candidates to join us at Fans Forum. Just detail how they jump in.
Yeah, well, here's the details to get involved. Just type in your comment on the live chat here on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook and get involved. And I'm telling you, Lee, there are so many people that have already jumped into this forum that are ripping Machado a new one, that are gleeful Dodger fans that are dancing on the Padres' grave, and even some comments about the Chargers. So there's a lot of good stuff.
We will get the Fans Forum as soon as we are done with topics on the table. John, let's move from baseball, NFL, to college football. Yeah, some interesting storylines there,
just
too.
So many great games, especially for our Southern California teams. But, yeah, let's kick it off with some Aztec talk.
Let's just talk about San Diego State. They have arrived as a program. They beat up a really struggling Colorado State team, 45-24. They had what they did Friday night, they'd never done under Sean Lewis. They piled up 541 yards in offense. They ripped off 282 yards in rushing. Jaden Denegal continues to throw the football. In this game, he threw it well, 42 and 45-yard touchdown passes, en route to a 256-yard throwing night. Jordan Napier making a mark on the West Coast nationally, 7 receptions for 153. Team is hitting on all cylinders. Now, Colorado State is really at the bottom of the barrel. First half of the schedule has been rather easy. Once they turn the corner in a couple of weeks, they got to go play Boise State. They got to go to Fresno. They're going to have to face an unbelievably hot Hawaii team with a new quarterback. So the teeth of the schedule is still to come. But the Aztecs are playing really good football. They're 4-1. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule from where I thought they would be at this point under Sean Lewis. If I had a disappointment, they've given away a lot of tickets. They slashed prices for a second home game in a row, and they papered the house, and only 21,000 showed up. I don't know where our community is, but maybe they just need to keep on trucking, keep on winning, knock out one of the upper echelon teams, be it Boise or be it Fresno. If they can do that, maybe this town is going to come back. But at this point, they would not come back. Second story, it has to be the shocker of the weekend. UCLA 0-4, fired its head coach, fired both of its coordinators, went out, and then fired of the lot of unbelievable plays from their quarterback as they shocked Penn State. Nico Amaliava, total 394 all-purpose yards. 5 touchdowns he was responsible for. UCLA piles up 446 yards against the Nittany Lions. And if you thought things were pretty tough on James Franklin after they lost at home to Oregon, imagine where they are right now after losing to winless UCLA. Third one is Alabama. Tell you what, they're looking at this Crimson Tide quarterback and saying, how is this possible? His name is Tyler Simpson, third-string quarterback his entire career for the Crimson Tide. Named the starting quarterback because it had not recruited an awful lot of good quarterbacks under Kalen DeBoer. Tyler Simpson has 13 touchdowns and no interceptions this season, and Alabama beat Vanderbilt. And you say, well, so what? Well, Vanderbilt was 5-0. Vanderbilt, with the coaching staff, has really started to play really good football in the SEC. They were trying to get to 6-0 for the first time since 1928, but Bama sidetracked them. This kid, Tyler Simpson, has come out of nowhere. Meanwhile, in the Mountain West, UNLV, with this new coaching staff, is now 5-0, and they're doing something that Vegas has not done in recent years. They're playing really good defense in addition to moving the football up and down the field. Had 3 more takeaways this last week. Boise State got beat, but they got beat at Notre Dame, and they had the lead, but they started to throw interceptions. The Irish, 4 interceptions of Boise State quarterback Max Madsen. I'll say this about Boise. They play big boy football. They play big-time schedule football. Once they get into this conference, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, but that's where they are. Texas, can you believe they were number 1 to start the season? Penn State was number 2 to start the season. Back-to-back losses. They have dropped totally out of the top 25. They're not ranked at all. Absolute stunner for the Longhorns. Arch Manning's throwing way too many interceptions, and State just does not look like the same team anymore. Not running the football very well. Drew Allar's not winning games for them. That's a stunner. Colorado Buffaloes. This is really sad. Deion Sanders entered a hospital today. Blood clots have returned to his leg. If you remember, a couple years ago, he underwent surgeries for amputations of toes because of blood clots. Then he had the bladder cancer, and that he spent the entire offseason recovering from that. Blood clots have returned. He could not walk at the end of the Colorado game this past season, and of course, they're not playing very well. And the last topic has to do with Chapel Hill Bill at North Carolina. Bill Belichick is now 2-3. Students have stopped going to the games. The fans who poured all this money into the hiring of Belichick at North Carolina, they're really upset. Belichick has no answers at all. They beat 2 1AA teams. They're 0-3 against Power 5 teams. And how about this statistic for Chapel Hill Bill? They've been outscored 120-33 in the 3 losses against Power 5 conference teams. You know, Bill Belichick, when I dealt with him, he was so hard to deal with from a media standpoint. I got along fine with him. But at the end of the day, I didn't have to deal with him every day and listen to the condescending nature of his answers, non-answers. Bill Belichick finally said something dawned on me. It was like a light bulb. Bill Belichick made a comment when he was hired at the North Carolina press conference. We're going to be the NFL's 33rd team. And people chuckled. He's going to build it like an NFL team. Well, now they've lost 3 games to Power 5 schools. He was correct. NFL expansion teams lose. Bill Belichick's losing. And I guess the girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, when she tweeted out after they won back-to-back games at the start of the season, we have arrived. I think that tweet's been deleted because now they're 0-3 against good people. So, John, the floor is yours to talk Aztecs, Bruins, shocker. You want to talk about Neon Dion or Chapel Hill Bill? Go ahead.
You know, it was a great college football weekend, and I am so happy for Aztecs, Sean Lewis, and everybody. I'm happy for Aztec Mike and the whole crew of Aztec fans. You figure they won that game. It was like 45-24. I mean, it just looked awesome. And Denigal was throwing these bombs down the field, and it's like we haven't seen this kind of an offense with the Aztecs since I don't know when. You have to go way back, like decades back, to see this. So it was wonderful. And then the Aztecs had the top offense in all of NCAA football over the weekend, and they have a top 10 defense. I mean, could this Aztec team, Hacksaw, go to a bowl game?
You only need 6 wins to qualify for a bowl. They got 4 in their pocket right now. Yes, as long as there's no catastrophic injuries, I think yes, they'll probably be a bowl team, that's remarkable with the second year in for Sean Lewis.
Yeah.
But that being said, John, you told me you were not going to wear pom-poms when you did this podcast. John, the teeth of the schedule is still to come. Let's just wait a couple weeks and just see when it's Aztecs, Boise, San Diego State at Fresno State, Aztecs at Hawaii, because those are going to really be big-time games against pretty quality teams. But so far, so good. I'll take 4-1. Hell, Sean Lewis said at his press conference today, if you told me it'd be 4-1 to start the season, I'd sign up for that too. Well said.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying is there's like promise, there's hope, and I think they're going to win back this community. If they were to go into that teeth of that schedule and win 2 out of every 3 of those big games, hey, you've got the community. They're going to rally. They're going to be fine. This is great. I'm happy for Sean Lewis. UCLA, what a game. I mean, and to see like the young Jerry Neuheisel out there, he looks like sunshine from, the Remember the Titans movie. And I mean, what a thrill for him. And then he was saying after the game, he wasn't sure how to use the headset and he couldn't push the right buttons. But talk about pushing the right buttons. Everything worked. And, then UCLA, you figure you upset a top 10 team in Penn State. You want to rush the field, but there's barely anybody there to rush the field. So, I'm happy for them and all the heat that program's been under. The Texas thing, you kind of makes you wonder, Arch Manning, was he really that good in high school? I saw some clips online and he didn't look as athletic as he thought he would be. It's a lot of that's on the name brand. Feeling for Coach Prime, I wish him well. I mean, obviously he's got some major concerns. And North Carolina, I mean, it's just like, Belichick, they're like another NFL team. They're like the Jets, they're 0-5. But I think the solution in North Carolina isn't hot pants. It's getting Tom Brady back because that's the only time that Belichick has ever won is when Brady was his QB.
Isn't that amazing, though? He made the comment, we're going to be the NFL's 33rd team. Expansion teams. They lose too, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Hey, listen, one other side note here, because I come across all kinds of unique data, and we talk about kids that have big games and do very well. Western Carolina, which is in the Southern Conference, they played Wofford, which is in the Southern Conference. Western Carolina has a quarterback by the name of Taron Dickinson. John, on Saturday, he started the game going 46 for 46, throwing the football. He completed 46 passes in a row. He finished the game 53 for 56, throwing dink and dunk passes all afternoon, wound up with 378 yards, passing 3 touchdowns. But think about that, 46 passes in a row.
Wow, that's pretty damn good. But that's a storyline right there. Hey, by the way, in the live chat, people are saying, hey, there's some crackling going on in the background. Just take a look at where Hacksaw is. I mean, Hacksaw is up, literally has got his back against the lakefront. I think that sound we're hearing is the water sort of lapping on shore, right?
The water's bouncing off the breaker.
And you're like in a screen door patio setup over there.
There we go.
Right? There you go.
My cottage, and the water's just out there.
Yeah, I think your Wi-Fi connection is actually pretty good today.
Oh, you had to say that now, didn't you?
Did I jinx it?
Okay,
yeah,
all things college football. You got an opinion? Jump on board quickly. Let's check the hockey hotline. Go to the NHL notebook.
Yeah, we're talking hockey. Season starts real soon.
Boy, big story. Just broke within just before 12 noon, West Coast time. Edmonton, Connor McDavid. Get this. Now, this is a superstar who scored 362 goals, has 1,082 points in something like 700 games, has led the Oilers to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row. I mean, he's been the epitome of a Hall of Famer. He's about to become a free agent. John, he just signed a 2-year extension for $25 million, $12.5 million per season. And the whole world thought he's going to hold out and he's going to try to be the top player. Top player right now is the guy in Minnesota, Kirill Kaprizov, who just signed for $17 million. Connor McDavid took $12.5 million so the Oilers could keep all their other players intact from what they think is a playoff team. That's pretty impressive. By the way, Edmonton just signed their coach, Chris Nalpok, to a 3-year contract extension. Since he took over 2 years ago, 96, 45, and 11. So the Connor McDavid story has just shaken the National Hockey League to its core. Tampa Bay has picked up a goaltender. Tell you what, if you're an NHL general manager and you have goaltending issues and you're trying to hold on to all your goaltenders, the only way you can get them into the minor leagues, if they've played so many number of games in the NHL, you have to get them through waivers. And you try to do that right at cut-down time before the NHL schedule starts tomorrow. You try to do it because nobody else has the room to take on a guy. The Kings, LA Kings, just lost one of the goaltenders to Tampa Bay. Phoenix Copley, who's been a pretty serviceable NHL starter, then a backup for the Kings. They tried to sneak him through waivers to get him to the American Hockey League. Tampa Bay Lightning have just picked him up. Las Vegas Golden Knights. You recall the group of players that was on trial for rape, all members of Team Canada in 2018. I called them the London Five. One of those players was a young goaltender, was a starter with the Philadelphia Flyers. His name was Carter Hall. It looks as if Las Vegas is going to sign into a contract. None of those other 5 players have signed contracts with any teams. It's like the NHL's taking hands off. Looks like Carter Hall's going to sign in Las Vegas. And a really bad story. Vice President of Player Personnel of the Buffalo Sabres, Adam Mayer, longtime defenseman, fired from his job. He was head of scouting as the Sabres had tried to rebuild. He'd been arrested on a DUI charge about a month ago. He got terminated over the weekend. Police report came out finally. Adam Mayer was arrested drunk driving with his 3 little kids in the car. Really bad story. So how about this Connor McDavid story? Not amazing?
It is. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Tom Brady and some of the things that he did with the New England Patriots, taking a little bit less. But I'd imagine Connor McDavid probably has huge endorsement deals that maybe exceed his salary. I mean, do you know anything about that, Lee?
Yeah. He's got a lot of sidebar things, and he's such a good citizen, and he's such a leader, and he's been such a cornerstone of that franchise. And he will probably mean to Edmonton everything that Gretzky meant to Edmonton. And he just elected, when the history of professional sports is, I'm going to be a free agent, I got to get more than the last guy just signed the record contract. Everybody thought, well, since the Minnesota player got 17, he was going to go for a penny more than that. He took $12.5 million so they could keep the team in place. That's pretty classy.
It is, but I think, again, it just kind of goes down to what are the values of the player. And some players want to make the most they can, and I don't fault them for that because we do that in the private sector. We get new jobs. We try to make the most we can. But for other players, their highest value is to win championships. And so if they're going to take a little bit less, they're still going to do well, and they'll be in the record books. So I can appreciate that as well. If I could sneak in one more comment on this, that Buffalo Sabres logo is very interesting to me. And when I think of the Buffalo Sabres, I think about is, remember Tim Russert from the Press? Old Buffalo Bills fan, but he would often comment about the Sabres on his show.
Well, Tim was from Western New York. And, if you mention Sabres, first thing that pops into my mind, which is kind of crowded with a lot of junk, is French Connection. The great French-Canadian players on one line. The Rick Martin line, Gilbert Perreault, René Robert. That's called the French Connection line, Buffalo Sabres, way back in the day. Hockey fan, feel free.
Are you talking about Gene Hackman?
Yeah, that's true. No, that's French Connection, too. Hockey fans forum chat box is open. We want to talk about the Connor McDavid contract. We're going to try to jam as many as we can. Last topic on the table, late-breaking stories here, John.
Yeah, here we're going to go to the high-speed sports wire. Got some Ryder Cup news.
The president of the PGA of America has formally apologized to Team Europe, Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, for the way they were treated by the American golf fans at Bethpage Black a weekend ago. We called it the ugly American syndrome. Rory McIlroy will have a private meeting with the president of the PGA of America. He says, we have to own it. It was disrespectful. These crossed this line. This should never, ever happen again in the world of golf. So that's the latest from the Ryder Cup. LIV Golf. How about this story? Reuters news agency in Europe is reporting. Greg Norman is the one that created this entire package of what LIV Golf should be about. LIV has lost in the last 2 years $395 million and $461 million in the last 2 years with the Saudi Public Investment Fund. Their total losses since they started up 3.5 years ago, $1.1 billion. Last year, for example, they took in only $65 million in revenue. They had $526 million in expenses. So all these players that went abroad got their money. Nobody's watching LIV Golf, and it's just draining the public investment firm. That's just a stunning story. Formula One. They just came through the Singapore Grand Prix. About a month ago, Team McLaren had a private meeting with their top 2 drivers, guys that are at the top of the grid, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. And they indicated, because there had been incidents on the track between their 2 star drivers racing for position. Question was, you're going to allow this to continue? These guys banging, swapping paint, nearly crashing, racing for position when they're teammates. And that team, McLaren, said, have at it, boys, race to the finish line. These guys just continue to bump and grind. And this past week in Singapore, Lando Norris ran into Oscar Piastri in the first lap and nearly wrecked him, and it cost him any chance of chasing down the leader, George Russell or Max Verstappen, who finished second. The points race in Formula One is getting tighter and tighter because Norris keeps having trouble with his teammate Piastri. Not good. And here's a really sad story. We talk about drivers and we talk about athletes, and they have this great life and they make volumes of money, etc. His name is Tyler Reddick. He's a young driver on the NASCAR circuit. He's run up front, has won races, etc. It's just been revealed. He's been racing with a heavy heart. He's had limited time in his car to practice. It's been a struggle. His 4-month-old son is in a critical care unit with a tumor near his heart. The baby has already lost a kidney. Nobody knew about it, and he had been reclusive, had been silent. He finally revealed this week the burden that he is carrying emotionally with his 4-month baby. Amazing story of what people who are supposed to have everything sometimes have to deal with behind the scenes, out of the garage, out of the cockpit of the NASCAR. It's quite a story with Tyler Reddick. So, John, Ryder Cup, LIV. I'm sorry, money in PIV, public investment firm, has gone away. You want to talk about that? Talk about F1, talk about NASCAR. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk about that term, public investment firm. So it makes me question the Saudi investors. Is this public money? Is this is this government money, or is it money that is coming from the nationalized resources of their oil, or is this actually the wealth of the Saudi princes that they're investing and have created a corporation? Because, in other words, is it private money or public money? Because I would imagine that in a lot of leagues, public money would probably be looked at a little bit differently. And you look at Saudi money, it's not just, Live Golf. It's, it's the English Premier League. We've got, their investments in the World Cup. They're losing a ton of money, but for what gain? I mean, if it's from a national perspective, are they trying to legitimize themselves on the world stage? I mean, what are they trying to accomplish? Because they sure as heck aren't making this a profitable business.
At the end of the day, we're going to talk politics now. At the end of the day, it sure looks like blood money. It sure looks like we're trying to whitewash ourselves of what we have done globally for years and years and decades upon decades. That's what this looks like. And that's why there's been such a lashback at the Phil Mickelsons and the Dustin Johnsons of the world who took blood money to go abroad and violate their PGA Tour card. I just wonder how much longer this is going to allow to be in operation. And again, the PGA LIV merger talks, look at they hit a wall and there's been no solution whatsoever.
Well, imagine, if you will, that the Saudis pulled the plug on this whole thing and said, we're losing money. What's the point here? Then all of those guys that took the money to go to Live Golf, they're going to have to come back to the PGA with their tail between their legs. That'll be interesting. That would probably, it certainly would solve the merger problem. That's for sure.
Question is, are the Rory McIlroys of the world, Scotty Schefflers of the world, going to let these guys come back in scot-free after they've violated their tour card? That's another topic for another day. Hey, those are hot topics on the table. Now it's your turn to take over this podcast. We're going to try to work our way towards the top of the hour, and then we're going to wrap up early because we got Dodger baseball coming up with the Philadelphia Phillies. So between now and the top of the hour, we want you to join us right now. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, they've got ideas. Build it, fix it. We guarantee you'll like it at Dixieline Lumber. John, where do you want to start? Because I just think there's probably a few people got some opinions.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of opinions here on the live stream. So let's go here, and let's get our friend David involved. And David, thank you very much. He says, get rid of Machado. He's a negative aura on your team. He snaps at reporters because he doesn't understand the word assess. Reporters need to use smaller words with a childlike evaluate. Then you get in a fight with umpires over one call?
Well, at the end of the day, the reporter asked the basic question, and he snapped at the reporter. You can't ask that question. You need to ask a better question than that. It doesn't make any sense at all. So that's Machado has just been standoffish in chunks of time. He's always talking, but sometimes it's more coach speak, player talk than it is anything of real content. At the end of the day, great everyday player, but at the end of the day, a 2.11 average in the postseason with the Orioles, the Dodgers, and now the Padres here. And to him to get snappy with reporters, that I thought that was really poor. Some might be of the opinion it was a bad question, but the media's got a right to ask whatever question they want.
Yeah, that's a crazy question. But I'll tell you what, something's going on here with the podcast. I have been removed from the screen, so it's going to be all you, Hacksaw. I'll just say this. I don't think what Machado said to that reporter was a bad thing. He didn't cuss out the reporter. He didn't snap back. He just looked back at the reporter and smiled. And he said, "What do you mean assess the season? We just lost." Well, of course. I mean, they're feeling the pain of that, just like Padres fans are feeling the pain. What do you expect Machado to say in that? Is he going to suddenly come up with this nicely packaged, perfect corporate speak response? Nah, man, he was feeling it, and we want dudes on the team that are feeling it with us.
His specific statement was, you need to ask a better question. Okay, move on. Next one. David, thank you for being with us long distance. Okay, Dodger fans recommend the Padres keep looking for superstars like Darvish, keep lionizing bad guys like Machado. Don't critique your mediocre minor league system. Well, Dodger fans have a right to feel good because you're still playing baseball, and the Padres are not playing baseball anymore. But at the end of the day, the Padres use their own currency. Their currency is the farm system, and they've traded it away 4 different times in the 11 years under A.J. Preller, and it hasn't worked out. Last I checked, they've not been to the National League Championship Series and won. Last I've checked, they've not gone to a World Series yet, while the Dodgers have obviously had much more success in postseason play. So Dodger fans have a right to chirp. I think the bigger question, does the blueprint that Preller has presented for 11 years, is this really the right way to run this franchise? What is his ownership going to do? John?
Well, what would you do differently? I mean, okay, let's say, hindsight's 2020. Maybe they should have signed Bryce Harper instead of Manny Machado, in 2019. But you get down to this, you got a long-term deal. Whenever Preller makes these deals, everyone is thrilled. They said, oh, we've got Machado. This is awesome. And now we have Machado, and now suddenly people are saying, oh, get rid of him. You can't get rid of him. It's going to take that salary. You got to find a way to make this work. So, I mean, I look at this, and yeah, those are big deals that they gave away, and Darvish is going to be an anchor. I mean, the math don't lie there. I'm not bagging on Machado on this whole thing. I mean, I think you've got to look beyond that. You've got to look at the rest of the roster as well, because Machado wasn't the reason that they lost. I mean, if anything, he was the reason they at least won one game of the playoffs.
That being said, though, his lifetime career is 211. That's not good. That's not superstar good in the most important time of the year for anybody.
But we all praise Clayton Kershaw, even though he's terrible in the postseason. So it's like a double standard here. The Dodgers are the boys in blue, and the Padres are the little sister that's got a bunch of bad attitude guys on the team. It's just the narrative is overplayed. Yeah, I think it's a double standard, Machado versus Kershaw.
Okay. Fligel, we'll just see where this goes. It's going to be a very interesting offseason. I agree with John that they can't move these people, but I don't understand how they're going to fill all the holes if they let so many more people go, because obviously it's not going to be the same roster again next season. Injuries have a lot to do with that too. Okay, John, next one.
Okay, let's go here to our buddy Angel. And he says, hey, it's a long shot. Here you go.
I think it hit some home runs at Petco Park. There's no doubt about it. But at what price tag? I don't know that the Padres could take on a $30 million acquisition. And by the way, we know who represents him, Scott Boras. So that becomes an issue. And the other factor is, I mean, Alonso's got a home in New York. He's been there forever, and he's become he's kind of a rock star. Polar bear in the Big Apple. So I'd have a hard time believing he'd leave, and I'd have a hard time believing that the Mets would lowball him. Now, the Mets obviously need some more pitching, but, that's big market. Number one, New York. They can probably afford a $30 million a year guy, and I think John mentioned right at the onset of the podcast, that's probably the price tag for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a perfect fit for the Mets. And, he signed that deal, I think it's 1 year, and he can always opt out. So he has an opportunity to renegotiate his deal and get a little bit more. But wasn't last season, wasn't he a free agent and no one was really biting? So I don't know how many other, people are going to put in bids for him, but re-signing in New York just makes too much sense.
Yeah, I think it was a 3-year deal, but he could opt out after years 1 and 2, and I think that's what he will do. But that's strictly, I can do this, and then you can make a different offer, and I'll look at that offer. I think as we're talking here, going to winter baseball, maybe I think the Polar stays in New York. Okay, thanks, Angel. John, next one.
I was going to say, it's just the perfect nickname for him. I mean, he looks like a polar bear. It's the whole thing. Okay, now let's go back to David. He answered one of our questions here. He says the Saudi investment fund is the sovereign wealth fund. Basically, same bank account that paid us.
Exactly, and that's why I use the term blood money, and that's why I use the phrase whitewashing their sins. So that's where it is. I just don't understand how they can continue to fund something that nobody gives a damn about, and why these golfers think it was okay to do this, to take blood money, and should be allowed back on the PGA Tour without paying a penalty for violating their tour card.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, there's more to life than just money. I mean, we've talked about guys that are taking less money so they can have complementary players around them. But, you got to have integrity and character. And you don't want to go to work, for a bad guy, just because you're going to make more money. I mean, you can't do that. That's one step too far. So, yeah, this is blood money. I don't know how the whole thing's going to be resolved, but I don't know. Has anyone thought that the reputation of the Saudis has been sort of whitewashed and they look at him in a more positive light? I'm not sure.
I don't know if the world is paying attention, but world leaders, I think, pay attention. Exactly. Okay, David, thanks for joining us. Moving on.
Okay, let's talk a little hockey with Jeff. He goes, go Anaheim Ducks and San Diego Gulls.
Well, they've made their roster cuts, and the Ducks are getting ready to open the season. The only words that I'm going to use in any conversation, Ducks equal playoffs. That's the way it should be. They've invested. They did re-sign two of their top young players to big contract extensions. They've added vested veterans, the Chris Kreiders of the world, coming on board. I think they've got every component covered in terms of youth, in terms of skating ability, in terms of grit, and then now in terms of veteran leadership. They got to be in the playoffs this season, period, exclamation point. In terms of the Ducks and what they send to San Diego, most of their players have been sent. And in fact, this is kind of a unique set of circumstances for the Gulls. This might be the youngest group of veteran AHL guys they've ever had, because they've returned Igor Sedorov, Nestorenko, a whole group of guys that got cups of coffee up top, coming back to start the Gulls season here. The only one that we don't have a clarification yet is Beckett Seneca. He was the number one pick 2 years ago out of the Ontario Hockey League. He scored a ton of goals. He was only 19 years of age. At this point, he can't be sent to the Gulls unless the NHL and the Canadian Hockey Leagues make an agreement. There was a proposal that every team could send one 19-year-old to their American Hockey League affiliate to start the season, but that has not been signed yet. So I don't know whether Seneca is going to stay with the Gulls and practice. He can play 9 games before it becomes a salary cap issue, or maybe he plays 9 games and then he winds up going to play for the World Championships. I don't see any benefit of Beckett Seneca, a big winger, going back to the Ontario Hockey League, but he can't get to the American League right now. I do think the Gulls are going to have a better team this year because they've got all their young goal scorers from last year back. They've got about 5 vested veterans, and they've added a couple more to the AHL roster, guys that have played in this league prior who are older players. So they need a bounce-back season because at one time they used to draw 10,000, 11,000 per game and make the playoffs every year. And said it's been 4 years of non-playoff hockey here, and the crowds have really dwindled. So I'm kind of optimistic that this roster, as it's now being presented for opening night, they play at Coachella Valley. I think they open the AHL season on Friday. I think this will be a better Gulls roster. And in terms of, like I said, Ducks, equal playoffs, got to be in the playoffs. John?
Got to be in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking a lot about all these other NHL stars, McDavid, the Kasparov kid with the Minnesota Wild, even McTavish with the Ducks getting signed. Were any of those guys like doing a holdout because all the other players are in camp right now, or were they under contract?
Well, they're under contract. The thing is, all those guys could have been either restricted free agents or, in McDavid's case, an unrestricted free agent at the end of this coming season. And guys don't want to play their final year without a guaranteed contract, but it was term and dollar. How long is it going to be, and what's my average salary going to be? And they finally got solved. And Kaprizov got the phenomenal money in Minnesota at $17 million. McTavish is getting $7 to $8 million. They just paid the defenseman Jackson Lacombe, all-time record $9 million on defense in Anaheim. And then McDavid, of all things, McDavid today, just before noon, agrees to a $12.5 million contract per year when most everybody thought he was going to go for $18 million. He decided to stay in Edmonton with the extension for $12.5 to keep all the other players on the roster. That's pretty unique.
Wow. This is a great month. You got postseason baseball. You've got hockey and basketball starting up. Football is rolling. I mean, this is a great time.
Okay, next question.
Okay, this is a good one because we're kind of getting near first pitch. And this is from JDS Third. Phillies and Dodgers are a different.
Oh, there's no doubt. Now, Philadelphia is not what Philadelphia was early. Philadelphia, losing Zach Wheeler is huge at the front end of the rotation. He's gone for the entire season. Aaron Nola has bounced back. He had missed a long portion of the season with shoulder woes. Their bullpen was a little shaky, etc. And, of course, Bryce Harper's had multiple injuries. He's not hitting for power, and Castellanos has kind of become a platoon guy. So Philly is not banging the ball outside of Schwarber the way Philadelphia has hit the ball in recent years. And I'll tell you what, that ballpark, these games, Dodger lineup's really damn dangerous. You got the Dodgers in Philadelphia. They can both hit home runs. Dodgers obviously got the better starting pitching. So, this is game 2 tonight. We're going to wrap this up quickly. Game 2 tonight's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, the marquee series at this stage of the playoffs. Because, these two teams are loaded. It's red versus blue. I mean, what better matchup in America can you have than that? I don't know. I have these on the Phillies. The Dodgers have personalities, but they're kind of all mild-mannered dudes, where you got a lot of swagger, with the Phillies. And I like to see that. And to me, Schwarber is such an unusual kind of a player where, I mean, he was dogged all the time when he was with the Chicago Cubs. And I forgot entirely he played for the Nationals, but now the guy is like world class with the Phillies.
He's made himself a better outfielder. I mean, at points in time, he'd get killed out there trying to catch fly balls. He's made himself a better outfielder, but obviously he strikes out a lot still. He's a .253 hitter. But when you hit 53 bombs, that makes up for it. And by the way, John, he's an unrestricted free agent November 1st. Think about that.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I'll recommend this to A.J. Preller. Don't sign Schwarber unless, we need defense on this team.
I concur. All right. Thanks for the input there. Move on, John. Next one.
Okay. And let's go down here and we'll go to, let's try to sneak one in before the first pitch. And let's go here to Ricardo. He goes, I love the idea of flexibility, but Preller has already depleted the farm system, which could have provided affordable solutions.
I'll say this in defense of AJ. His ability to scope and sight certain players, certain styles to fit what San Diego needs. I mean, his ability to go, I use the term, shop on aisle 1 at Dollar General, he's been pretty impressive. I mean, Gavin Sheets, pretty good acquisition. He does it on an annual basis. And his ability to go abroad to go get the Hyson Kims of the world from Japan or Korea, that's been pretty impressive too. Again, I go back to my theory, boots on the ground. He's got people everywhere. So he can find guys, and he's got good scouts to do it. So I trust that he will do some of that. Again, there'll be new guys coming in on one-year deals, new guys coming in from abroad on multi-year deals, and we'll just see if it works out. But if Cease is gone and they have problems signing King, we don't know if Musgrove will ever be Musgrove again. And Darvish, he's got, I think, elbow problems, and maybe he retires. That's an awful lot of guys off that rotation that won't be back, and they have no farm system ready. Farm system's been traded away. So I will say this, November going into the winter baseball meetings, it's going to be fascinating because he's going to have to add stuff here. John?
For the longest time as Padre fans, we were so angry they never spent any money. And, talk about aisle 10 at Dollar General. We always talk about Kevin Towers doing the dumpster diving, and he'd find a few gems. But we were like such a different level back then in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. It's nice to be up on a higher echelon in terms of spending money and having a general manager that's like really willing to put himself out there. But to Ricardo's point, we have given up a lot. I say we like I'm the Padres. The Padres have given up a lot of talent. I saw a line comparing Luis Ariz with Jacob Marcy because that was part of that deal with the Marlins Padres. And Marcy looks a hell of a lot better than Luis Ariz did last year. I mean, you could go back and second guess every one of these deals, but at the time, every time Preller made these big moves, we loved him for it. And we knew we were giving up a lot, but we still loved him for it. And now it's buyer's remorse.
Now the onus will be on ownership. Don't come back to the fans after you raise ticket prices 57% over 5 years. Don't come back to these fans and say, we're cutting this payroll from 211. don't dare do that. Don't take the sucker down to the 190s right now. This is a product that's hot. This is a baseball town that loves this franchise. Don't change the way you're doing business. You're going to change the roster. I know you're going to change the roster. But John, we wrap it up. I really appreciate all the fans for being so patient. We made an agreement. We would try to get this podcast done before the first pitch of the Dodgers and Phillies in Philadelphia Game 2. We will be back here on Thursday at 1:30. We're going to do it again. John, I have to tell you this, as you look out over my shoulder here on the lake by my cottage. Today was the final day of what we call Indian summer, warm, 70 degrees. Autumn arrives tomorrow, and by Wednesday, they say it's going to be rainy and 33 degrees because we get all the seasons up here in the northern Adirondacks. John, good job keeping this podcast rocking and rolling, and we'll look forward to talk to you again on Thursday.
Okay, bundle up out there, Lee, and we'll see you on Thursday. And
thank you for being part. This broadcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. Hope you'll join us Thursday. Enjoy the baseball playoffs that are just around the corner. Thanks for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app. For more content, go to LeeHacksaw.com.